Hey, connecting. So officially, good morning. Welcome to this webinar on Alberta on behalf of Travel Alberta. So just a quick overview of the basics, which, as I said, many of you did learn in your ASP training. So Alberta is in Western Canada, sandwiched between British Columbia and Saskatchewan. Up the north is the NWT, Northwest Territories, and then down south bordering with Montana in the USA. The bragging rights, or the fast facts of Alberta, is it is home of the Canadian Rockies, also home to 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Banff National Park was Canada's first national park all the way back in 1885, but Jasper National Park holds the title for Canada's largest national park. So Banff may be the oldest, but Jasper is the largest. The Calgary Stampede is also known as the greatest outdoor show on earth, and as I mentioned, Australia is a huge market for the Stampede. And then in Edmonton, we have the West Edmonton Mall, North America's largest shopping and entertainment complex, which is very handy when Alberta is the only province in Canada that does not have provincial sales tax. So it's a good excuse to go shopping while you're in Alberta. A little bit about access. So you guys are probably, you're all over this. Air Canada's got direct flights to Vancouver from Sydney and Brisbane. I actually did the Brisbane flight recently on the new Dreamliner. It was excellent experience. Air New Zealand via Auckland into Vancouver, and also more for those guys on the West Coast, Cathay via Hong Kong into Vancouver. And then of course from Vancouver you can make connections into Calgary and Edmonton with Air Canada and with WestJet. The other popular way to get into the province is by rail. So you've got Rocky Mountaineer in the spring, the summer and the fall, and Via Rail, which operates year-round, can get you over to Jasper and Edmonton on the Trans-Canada Canadian service. We do highly encourage self-drive in Alberta, maybe not in the winter months, but definitely through spring, summer and fall. It's very easy, kind of touristy driving. I know it's the wrong side of the road, but you do get used to that pretty quickly. Once you've picked up the car from the airport, the cities aren't too bad to get around Calgary and Edmonton, and then once you're out of the city, it's very easy. You've got the Trans-Canada Highway, the #1, which takes you to Banff and Lake Louise. And these roads are very well maintained, not too busy, and very suitable for camper vans, cars, anything you like, really. So a few driving times. As we go through the destinations, we're going to sort of go on a tour. We're going to start in Edmonton. We're going to head over to Jasper, down through the Rockies, Lake Louise, Banff, and then Calgary. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about southern Alberta as well. So kind of have that C curve trip in mind. That's the route we are going to take today. So the seasons, we are focusing on winter, spring and fall. The summer is a beautiful time in the Rockies, so it is peak season. Obviously, we still heavily promote that, but just focusing on the other seasons where there is a bit more space and a bit more capacity, particularly, in those peak season months is pretty busy in the Rockies. So everything we go through will still apply to the summer, unless it's winter specific, but we will be focusing on what's open in spring and fall, and then I will be talking a little bit about winter a bit more towards the end there. So destinations, as I mentioned, we're going to start in Edmonton. Edmonton is the capital of Alberta. A little list of major attractions down the side there. I also got the websites for each attraction, each destination, but don't worry about scribbling all those down. I can quite happily send you guys a PDF of the presentation at the end. So that's all good. You don't need to take too many notes. The Art Gallery of Alberta is a beautiful building in the centre of Edmonton. It's modelled on the Northern Lights, so lots of glass, lots of waving, it's a wavy kind of structure. This main image here is of the Folk Festival in Edmonton, so known as the Festival City. There's always something going on in Edmonton. Another thing to point out would be Old Strathcona. That's an old neighbourhood district where the Fringe Festival takes place, where there's markets and things. And then I've got a few pictures coming up of the West Edmonton Mall. Here we go. So like I said, no PST, good excuse to go shopping. There's over 800 shops at the West Edmonton Mall. There's a water park, an ice rink, a sea lion show, a theme park, a bungee, and lots more. It's a big place. It's by population, it's the third largest city in commas on any given day in Alberta after Calgary and Edmonton, particularly in the winter when it's pretty cold outside. It's a good place to hang out, and obviously the water park's pretty popular in the winter. Heading over to Jasper. So as I mentioned, or was on the driving sheet, it's a 4-hour drive from Edmonton to Jasper, similar if you go on a train with VRL. Jasper is a very small town in a very big national park. So like I said, it's the largest national park in Canada. But Jasper itself is a very small town. You can see there, quirky little fact, it is shaped like a J. Yeah, it's a beautiful town in a beautiful national park. So key things to do in Jasper, the Maligne Lake Boat Cruise. So this operates from May the 20th to October the 2nd. 45-minute drive to Maligne Lake from Jasper. It's a 90-minute cruise. The nice thing about this main picture here is it's one of the most iconic shots of the Rockies. And the great thing about taking the boat cruise is you can actually take this photo yourself. It's not some remote destination that you can't get to. The boat actually comes up around Spirit Island, this is called. It parks up, you get off the boat, you go for a little walk for about 10 minutes, you can hang out, take some photos. So you can get this picture yourself. Fingers crossed the weather is just as nice as this picture. The Jasper Skytram, also one of the signature experiences of Jasper, so operates from March 24th to October 29th, so it did actually just open a few days ago. So it has a pretty long operating season. It doesn't take you all the way to the top of Whistler's Mountain. It takes you just below the peak, so you can walk up to the summit, and then also that's why they have the snowshoe rentals. So you can grab some snowshoes and walk up to the summit at this time of year when there's snow on the ground. And again, it means you can get that beautiful aerial shot of Jasper. That's not taken from an airplane, it's taken from the top of the Jasper Skytram. So you can get those beautiful aerial views yourself. A great experience in Jasper is the Jasper motorcycle tours. It's just something a little bit unique. Whether you're on a coach or you're in the car, you've got that separation of glass between you. Whereas on the motorcycle tours, you've got some wind in your hair, you go searching for bears, and if you see one, you know, it's right there. It's not through the glass. It's right there in front of you. So the motorcycle tours are a fantastic experience. Professional drivers who are these old kind of Harley Davidson guys walking around in their leathers, and they just absolutely love it. Super fun to hang out with. And of course, you get to wear leathers yourself. That's another highlight of the trip, is just actually getting all the gear on and getting ready to go. So because Jasper is such a small town in a big national park, the wildlife activity is pretty phenomenal. In spring, summer and fall, you've got the bears, but obviously they're not around in the winter as they're in hibernation, but all other animals you can see year-round, and you can do winter wildlife tours as well. The spring and the fall are actually great times to see the bears. The spring is when you get the cubs. The bears come out of hibernation. They're very hungry. They've got the cubs with them. So it's a bit of activity. And also in the fall, again, they're preparing to go into hibernation, so they're foraging for food. They're quite active. Whereas sometimes in the height of summer, you know, if it's a hot day, then they'll just, you know, go find a nice little shady spot and have a sleep under a tree. So not always that active in the summertime. So from Jasper, heading south, we hit the Icefields Parkway. Now, National Geographic named this as one of the top 10 most scenic drives in the world. And you can kind of see why from that picture. There's more than 100 glaciers, there's lakes, waterfalls, there's wildlife. It's just an absolutely stunning drive. It is open all year round, the road, although in winter it is a snowy road, so we don't really push driving in the winter just because of the snow conditions, unless people really are happy with driving in winter conditions. But definitely in spring, summer and fall, doing a self-drive along the parkway is fantastic. So a few things to do along the parkway. The Columbia Icefield Glacier Adventure, and that comes in two parts. The Ice Explorer bus, which you may be pretty familiar with, may have seen this picture a few times. It's been around for a long time, the Ice Explorer. Takes you up onto the Athabasca Glacier. There are frequent departures. They leave every 15 minutes in peak season to take people up onto the glacier. A little tip there is to take up an empty water bottle, and you can collect some of the purest water in the world. So around this kind of groomed parking area, there's a stream where the glacier melts, and you can just scoop up water out of this stream, and supposed to make you more youthful. So I think I need another trip back to Jasper, that's for sure. The second part of the Icefield Glacier Adventure is the Glacier Skywalk. So this is the one that opened more recently. And both of these attractions open mid-April to mid-October, so quite a nice long season there. The Glacier Skywalk did win a World Architecture Award. It's a pretty stunning piece of equipment there, and an engineering feat, 280 meters high over the valley below. And then there's this 30-meter glass platform, which is optional. You can see you've got this one across here, so if that's enough for you, that's fine. But if you're feeling daring, you've got this 30-meter glass platform to walk out on. And both of these are Canadian signature experiences. So the whole experience is one experience just in two parts. You do check into the glacier, the Icefields Centre. Also on the Icefields Parkway, Rockies Heli have a base. So very popular sightseeing tours. Also, if you're going to combine it with another activity, you can go hiking and you can do lots of other things. Hiking is probably the most popular, but there is heli yoga, heli horse riding, heli fishing, heli camping, pretty much whatever you can do, you name it. You can combine it with a helicopter. The Icefield base operates from May the 1st to October 15th, but they also have a base in Canmore, which operates year-round, and you can go heli dog sledding and heli snowshoeing in the winter months. I did copy this little note from the Rockies Heli website, which I quite liked about dogs, because a lot of people travel with their dogs, a lot of Canadians, so I like that the dog can go in the helicopter as long as he or she behaves themselves. Okay, moving on to Lake Louise. So the drive between Jasper and Lake Louise is only 3 hours-ish if you were to do it point to point, but because the Icefields Parkway is so beautiful, you've got the Discovery Center with the activities to do. It is a full day of your itinerary, so you just plan a whole day to drive from Jasper to Lake Louise, so you can stop, take pictures, have lunch, do the activities, and just have a leisurely trip down the parkway, as it is absolutely stunning. And then, of course, you arrive at the beautiful Lake Louise. This picture's probably very familiar. It is incredible when you're there, because you've seen this image so many times. It's quite magical to be there for real, to see the lake. It really is that blue, and it's just a really stunning area. If people are wanting to splash out and do, if they only want to do one Fairmont, then I would have to say this would be the one for me. I know the Banff Springs is also a beautiful hotel, but there's just something about the chateau, which is, it's just magical. If you have a lake view room in the summer, you can look out at this beautiful blue lake. And in the winter, you can look out at the snow-covered lake, so all the white surrounds. So, yeah, it is a beautiful property. There's also Deer Lodge up the road and Lake Louise Inn and a couple of other places. So there are a few options to stay, but the Fairmont here is pretty special. Also at the Fairmont is afternoon tea, lots of restaurants. They have a heritage guide program with guided hikes. Again, amazing guides who are these older guys who've been around for a long time. They know the history, they know the flora and the fauna, and they do these fantastic tours. In the winter, those tours are snowshoe tours, so you head out onto the lake with your snowshoes on, and obviously in the summer you go for a walk around the lake with the guides. You can also rent canoes, so canoeing is a quintessential Canadian experience, so you can grab a canoe and go for a paddle on the lake. Also at Lake Louise is the Lake Louise Gondola. So this is the ski area in the winter, but in the spring, the summer and the fall, the gondola is open for sightseeing. And the great thing about this is that the Lake Louise ski area is in a natural grizzly bear habitat, a corridor that they use. So it's one of the best places to view grizzly bears in the wild. So this isn't, a fenced off area. This is in the wild. The bears are there. So there's no guarantee that you'll see them, but they do see grizzly bears on most days because it is such an area of activity. So it's well worth a trip up there. You can just see the lake there. Let me just get my mouse in the distance. But that's only about a 5-minute drive from the lake itself down to the base of the gondola, and there are free shuttles as well. So definitely worth going up there. They have guided hikes and wildlife presentations. So a great place to see the bears, which is what everybody wants to tick off their list when they head to the Rockies. Just down the road from Lake Louise is Moraine Lake in the valley of the 10 Peaks. Beautiful, stunning area. There is no public transport here, so it is either on a tour or self-drive. There is a lodge there, a luxury lodge called Moraine Lake Lodge, which is a beautiful place to stay. You're completely unplugged. There's no televisions, there's no telephones. They have installed Wi-Fi, because I think the world doesn't function without Wi-Fi these days. But other than that, you are at one with the nature. Again, it is a pretty popular place to go, so staying at the lodge is lovely, that you can be there early in the morning or later in the day when some of the crowds have dissipated. Or if you are going just for a quick visit, it's a good tip to go either first thing in the morning or leave it till a little bit later in the day when it's a little bit less busy. This lake is only accessible in the spring, summer, and fall months. The road does close in the winter because it gets pretty snowy, and Parks Canada actually create cross-country tracks. So you can do 14 kilometres along the road on a cross-country trail in the winter, so it's pretty popular with the locals. There is a cafe there for day visitors and also a gourmet restaurant, and they do have guided hikes and also the canoe rentals as well. So heading into Banff. Banff is a beautiful town, and it's a much larger town than Lake Louise is more of I call it a hamlet, whereas Banff's a real town full of shops, restaurants, nightlife, accommodation, but all in this amazingly stunning location. So everything you could need just in one of the most beautiful areas of the world. Top things to do, so the Banff gondola. If anybody has been on the gondola, it has changed. So Brewster just completed a multi-million-dollar refurbishment or a brand new building at the top of the gondola just at the end of last year. So it really has enhanced the visitor experience. There's a multi-sensory theatre up there. There's a new 360-degree rooftop observation deck. There's a new interpretive centre. There are new restaurants. So it is absolutely stunning up there. Just jump onto the Brewster website if you want to have a look at images of the new building, because yeah, it is well worth a look. The boardwalk up there is still the same, so you can go for a walk and enjoy these amazing views. Just next door to the Banff gondola, at the base of the gondola, is the Banff Upper Hot Springs. So if people are heading to the gondola, you can remember to take your bathers, and then you can jump in the hot springs when you come back down. The hot springs are the reason that Banff exists. It was based on the tourism idea of people coming to replenish themselves in these natural hot springs. Now, these ones aren't the original hot springs, but you can visit the original at the Cave and Basin National Historic Site, where they discovered the hot springs and then built an area for visitors. But nonetheless, this is naturally heated. It's a nice place to go and hang out and relax. Lovely in the winter as well. So this is open year-round. When you're sitting in that hot water surrounded by snow, that's pretty special. And this is also a Canadian signature experience. Another Brewster attraction in Banff is the Banff Lake Cruise on Lake Minnewanka. Used to be called Lake Minnewanka Cruise, but I think everybody was having a bit of trouble pronouncing Minnewanka correctly. So to stop any confusion, it's now the Banff Lake Cruise. So it's only a 15-minute drive out of town, a 90-minute cruise on the lake, enjoying those beautiful scenery and wildlife and interpretation from the guides as well, which is very entertaining. This one operates May the 12th to October the 9th. So just down the road from Banff is Canmore. So Canmore is outside of Banff National Park, which means it doesn't have the same rules. Canmore is a much larger town. There's a lot of growth there. It's where the helicopter companies are based. I mentioned Rocky's Heli. There's also Alpine Helicopters. So they are based in Canmore. So if you're in Banff and you're doing a helicopter tour, you will be taken to Canmore to take off. Canmore is also a great alternative if Banff is looking pretty busy. If you do have people going in summer and you're struggling to find accommodation, there are lots of hotel options and chains in Canmore. Other things to do in Canmore are caving. Again, this whole area is full of these caves and natural hot springs, so there's caving. There's also a rock climbing company and mountaineering for anybody who wants to go and do something a little bit more extreme. And they also have a progressive dining tour as well. Lots of fantastic restaurants in Canmore. They've got the Grizzly Paw Brewery is very popular. So lots to do in Canmore, definitely worth stopping off in Canmore on your way back to Calgary. So here's Calgary, about an hour and a half between Banff and Calgary and a bit less from Canmore. Just point out the Calgary Tower here. There's the Calgary Tower with its red top's a great first place to stop in at in Calgary. You get amazing views of not just the city, but you can see the Rockies in the distance. You can see Stampede Park for those who are doing the Calgary Stampede. So good place to go and get your bearings. So this next slide, the main picture is Stephen Avenue. This is the main street in Calgary, shopping mall attached to it, and also all these bars and restaurants. The Canadians, they have a long winter, so any excuse to get outside and drink a beer on the patio, they're out there, even in the rain, which I think this picture looks a bit wet, but they're out there on the patio having some outdoor drinks and food. So yeah, Stephen Avenue, nice place to hang out in Calgary. This picture up here is the Calgary Tower, so it also has a glass bottom floor. I think in Canada they like to test your nerves, see what you're made of if you're happy to walk on these glass platforms. And also at the Canada Olympic Park, another great place for thrill seekers. This was the site of the 1988 Winter Olympics, but it's still very much an operational Olympic park. So it's where all the Winter Olympians hang out, do their training. There's ice hockey rinks. There's all kinds of training. The ski jumps are out of action, but this one, the highest one, is now the world's highest zip line. So anybody who's feeling pretty nervy can walk to the top of this ski jump tower and zip line all the way to the bottom. So that's pretty freaky. Another thrill-seeking activity you can do is go in the bobsled with an Olympic bobsled driver. That's available year-round. And also, a little bit less extreme, a bit more mellow, they have a skyline luge activity, which is, yeah, you drive yourself down the mountain in the luge cart. So that's definitely a bit more family friendly. Also in Calgary is Heritage Park. Now this is a huge area, different eras on the park. Some of it's outdoor, some of it's indoor. This outdoor section here, you can see they have in-theme character guides. So lots of interpretation, really nice for families, very entertaining. There's a steam train there and there's these wagon rides and things. So this is open in spring, summer and fall, but Gasoline Alley, which is this picture here, is open year-round. So this is one of their indoor attractions, Gasoline Alley, full of old cars and automobile memorabilia. So you can still visit Heritage Park in the winter. And again, this has been around a long time. It is a Canada signature experience. We will just touch on the Calgary Stampede. So obviously this is in summer. This is a popular thing to do in summer. We did have a Calgary Stampede webinar a couple of weeks ago, so I won't talk about it too much. If you want the link to the Calgary Stampede webinar, then just let me know. But those are the dates for this year. It's also a signature experience. Any of the packages that you see with the wholesalers are usually a 2-day, 3-night package for the Stampede, and that's because there is so much to do. You've got the rodeo events, the rodeo ticket, and you sit in the grandstand and watch the rodeo events, then you've also got the chuck wagon races. And the chucks happen in the evening after the rodeo events. And then you get this big stage show as well called the Grandstand Show, which I think is best described as a cross between a country music show, a Cirque du Soleil performance, and a New Year's Eve fireworks show. It's just absolutely spectacular. So over the 2 days, you can do both of those ticketed events and also just enjoy yourself on the park. So now heading down to southern Alberta. So from Calgary all the way down to the border with Montana is this beautiful region here called Waterton Lakes National Park. And this is for people who want to see the Rockies, but just sort of more off the beaten track. It's a much quieter area. It's absolutely stunning. I guess it's probably what Banff or what Jasper was like many, many years ago before the boom. So it's a beautiful place to visit. The wildlife activity there is huge as well because it's, it's a small place in a big national park. You've got the Prince of Wales iconic hotel here on the hill overlooking the lake. And again, the driving distances aren't very big. Waterton's about a 3-hour drive south of Calgary. Now, en route to Waterton, you also have head smashed in buffalo jump, which is this picture here. So it is what it says it is. It's the oldest buffalo jump or preserved buffalo jump in North America. And the First Nations people would drive the buffalo off the cliff here. And that would be, a big hill for them, a big day for them, food and shelter and clothing-wise. So it was a very important historic site. And there is now an interpretive center. You can listen to stories. There's dance performances, all kinds of First Nations experiences at Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. So it is a really special place. Just east of Calgary is Dinosaur Provincial Park and Drumheller. So Alberta is also one of the richest areas in the world for dinosaur fossils. So anybody who's a dinosaur fan or families, you can actually still see dinosaur fossils in the ground here because there's that many of them. So Dinosaur Provincial Park, you can go on these tours. Drumheller is home to the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology. So that's a bit more of a museum experience, whereas Dinosaur Provincial Park's a bit more of the hands-on, go digging for dinosaur bones experience. The amazing thing about these 3 pictures is that it shows how quickly the landscape changes in Alberta. So you have got the Rockies down the west side of the province, then more in the middle and the north and out towards the east, you've got the prairies, and then in this area just east of Calgary, you've got the Badlands with these sandstone formations. So within a relatively short distance, you get all these different experiences with different landscapes. So it's a pretty fascinating place if you just sort of step off the beaten track, and you don't even need to step off very far. Like I said, these driving distances are pretty close. So we'll touch on the winter adventures. So Alberta's a fantastic place to go in winter. The Canadians embrace winter. They love winter. They make the most of it, that's for sure. So one of the more popular activities is dog sledding. It's a fantastic bucket list item to do in the Rockies. The skiing, got a couple of slides about skiing. You can see the Northern Lights in Alberta. Fort McMurray has 3-day tours up there, so you can see the Northern Lights up there. It's quite an accessible place to see them. Also snowshoeing tours, sleigh rides at Lake Louise. It's pretty magical. You actually sleigh ride on the lake. You go up the side of the lake up to the glacier. Like I said, the hot springs are beautiful in the winter when you're surrounded by snow. Via Rail operates all year round. Obviously, Rocky Mountaineer is spring is April to October, but Via Rail is all year. So in the winter, you can catch the snow train to Jasper and then do a lovely winter wonderland itinerary. Again, just great to see that snowy landscape through the train, just something quite unique. I mentioned before you can do winter wildlife tours still, so there are wildlife tours in the winter. You're just not going to see any bears, but lots of other wildlife to see, like this elk in the snow. And another thing really unique to the Rockies are these ice canyon walks. Sorry, I couldn't remember what they were called then. It's the ice canyon walks. So in the summertime, these canyons are full of waterfalls, raging water river beneath them. You can walk around them. In Jasper, you've got Moline Canyon, and in Banff, you've got Johnston Canyon. So there's one in each. But in the wintertime, all of that water just freezes over, and it creates the most magical winter wonderland scenery you've ever seen. It's absolutely beautiful. You can do guided tours up there. They'll give you just some rubber soles to put over your shoes so that it's not too slippery, because you do actually walk on the frozen river in some places as well, and you can just look up at these frozen canyons. They also do nighttime tours, so you go out with a head torch, and that's pretty spooky and a pretty cool activity to do. So yeah, highly recommend the Ice Canyon tours. You'll see that I'm about to talk about skiing a little bit, but even if you've got non-skiers who just want a winter experience, the Rockies are a fantastic place to go for a winter experience that is nothing to do with skiing. You know, there's so many things to do, so you don't have to be skiers to enjoy the winter in Alberta, that's for sure. Picture of Lake Louise in the snow, so you can see the contrast. That blue lake disappears, and it's all frozen over. It's covered in snow. There's an ice skating rink. This is the rink here, and it's outside the back of the hotel there. There's also an ice bar, so you can get a hot chocolate or something stronger. Watch people ice skating if that's not your thing. They always have this ice castle built as well, which is popular for photographs. And yeah, just a really magical place to be in the winter, and particularly at Christmas. So the wholesalers would have the Fairmont White Christmas packages. So each hotel is slightly different. You've got Jasper Park Lodge in Jasper, Banff Springs Hotel in Banff, and the Chateau Lake Louise in Lake Louise. But they've all got these sort of quintessential Canadian White Christmas holiday activities, great for families or great for anybody really, just a really wonderful experience. So this is just an example of some of those things you can do. It's also worth noting that, sorry, excuse me, Christmas starts early in the Rockies. You know, it's dark, it's snowy. They get those decorations up in November. They really start the countdown to Christmas early. So also, if you've got clients that want a white Christmas experience, but pre-Christmas, so they want to be home for Christmas, then, you know, you can go and do some of this stuff in November. Jasper Park Lodge has a November Christmas celebration, and all of the celebrations go all the way through December. So you can definitely start celebrating early, go have a white Christmas experience before Christmas, and then come home and still do Christmas. Okay, sorry, I just had a little bit of a cough there. Oh, I'm struggling. All right, we'll move on. Oh, I got stuck. Okay, here we go. So, a couple of slides on skiing and snowboarding, and then we are all done. So, the Rockies is a spectacular place for skiers and snowboarders. Staying in Banff and Lake Louise and Jasper in the wintertime, like I said, is magical. The scenery is amazing. The snow conditions are fantastic. Sunshine Village gets one of the highest snowfalls in Canada, so it's a great place to ski. I guess the difference with Banff and Jasper and Lake Louise to the resorts in BC is it's not ski in, ski out. But saying that, you know, you get other benefits. Banff and Lake Louise and Jasper are beautiful towns. They've got a lot going on. They're not purpose-built ski resorts. They're actual towns. The transfers up to the mountains are not very far. So in Banff, you've got Mount Norquay, which is just a 15-minute drive away. Lake Louise, if you're staying at Lake Louise, you're only 5 minutes from the ski resort. If you're staying in Banff, you're 45 minutes. And Sunshine Village is somewhere in the middle of the two. It's about a 25-minute drive from Banff and from Lake Louise as well. But there is some accommodation up on Sunshine Village. I wouldn't recommend you would stay there for, say, a whole week, but for a few nights, if people are willing to move around a little bit, then Sunshine Village is lovely to stay up there. The hotel up there was refurbed not too long ago, So it's a beautiful hotel. Again, all those crowds disappear at the end of the day, and then just the guests of the hotel are left up on the mountain, and they do evening activities up there as well. So a beautiful place to stay. Lake Louise, I do recommend staying in Lake Louise and in Banff. So again, if people are willing to move, it's definitely worth it, but you can just also base yourself in one or the other and have a wonderful ski holiday as well. In Jasper, probably a bit lesser known is Marmot Basin, and Marmot Basin is a fantastic ski area, just 20-minute drive from Jasper. So the great thing about skiing in the Rockies is that, as I mentioned, summer is high season, winter is low season. This is not busy skiing. There are never any lift lines that are very long. There's heaps of space, wide open space in all of the resorts. The snow conditions are fantastic because you've got that real interior, light, dry, fluffy snow. And like I said, and then those wonderful towns to go back to at the end of the day with all of their activities, their amenities, the hotels, the restaurants. So definitely a different experience skiing in the Rockies, highly recommended. There are some great early bird specials because it's low season. The Fairmonts have great rates for ski trips, so speak to your preferred ski wholesalers for those details. So yeah, it's not ski in, ski out, but it does have a lot of other benefits, so definitely worth a ski trip. Okay, I think that was everything. So those of you who are here from the Alberta Specialist Program, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that was helpful on top of the training that you have recently just done. Any Canada specialists out there, there is an incentive going at the moment for the Alberta Specialist Program. So I think you've got till Friday to complete a training at albertaspecialist.com. And then I'll be managing this for them for the next few weeks. So I will let everybody know who the winners are of those 3 fantastic gift vouchers. And yes, I'll be in touch with all those details probably sometime before Easter. But anybody, you've still got a few days to register and get those modules completed. Okay, so that's everything for today. Like I said, hopefully that was helpful. If you want any more information, you can visit travelalberta.com, and if you are Alberta Specialist, you will be on their newsletter list to be able to check in with Travel Alberta that way. But otherwise, thank you all for listening in, and have a great day.